All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the 2022 Brookie Awards, sponsored by the Natural Resource Council of Maine. So my name is Brenner. I am a state senator. I represent Senate District 30, which currently includes most of Scarborough, part of Buxton, and all of Gorham. With redistricting, I will no longer represent Buxton, but I'll still represent Gorham and Scarborough. I'm really proud to serve in the State Senate, and I chair the Environment and Natural Resources Committee, and I also own a farm in Scarborough called Broadturn Farm. And I'm thrilled to be here tonight to celebrate with all of you and celebrate the leadership and accomplishments of the Brookie Award winners, and to serve as your MC for tonight's evening. And I'd like to start this evening with a land acknowledgement and invite the 2022 Brookie Award winner, Noella Altbatar, a member of the Passamaquoddy Reservation at the Sabayak, to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay. All right, so today we recognize and honor the Penobscot, Passamaquoddy, Micmac, and Maliseet tribes of Maine, all collectively known as the Wabanaki, which translates as people of the dawn. These tribes have stewarded Maine for generations, stretching back to before colonial settlers forcibly occupied the area. Tonight we are on the unceded territory of the Abenaki, and many of us conduct our work on unceded lands once overseen by the Wabanaki. These lands, both urban and rural, have inherited a legacy of broken treaties and genocide. In defiance of these injustices, descendant communities of the Wabanaki maintain spiritual, cultural, and physical connection to these lands. Tonight we acknowledge the history and recognize Indigenous sovereignty. A land acknowledgement like this is an essential beginning, but it is only a beginning. Let us all commit ourselves to actively using our voices, our resources, and our power to support tribes of the Wabanaki Confederacy. Let's work together with the Wabanaki Knowledge Keepers to protect the land, air, water, and wildlife of Maine. Thank you.
Thank you, Noella. I'd also now like to move on and introduce Pete Ditteshein. He's the interim CEO for the Natural Resource Council of Maine, and I'd like to have him say a few words about our sponsors who've made the Brookie program possible.
Thank you. So Stacy is a rock star at the State House. I just want everybody to know that she's one of our heroes up there. So thank you, Stacy, for all you do for the state of Maine in your role as the Senate Chair of the Environment and Natural Resources Committee. My name is Pete Ditteshein. I'm the Advocacy Director of NRCM. I've been there for 26 years, and I'm the interim CEO while we're in the process of searching for a new CEO. And NRCM is an amazing organization, and I've had the good pleasure of working there, as I said, since 1996. So welcome to the 2022 Brookie Awards. I've got an easy task this evening. I'm just going to share a few remarks and then mention our business sponsors and foundations and other individuals who have helped make this possible. The difficult work's been done by others, including Todd Martin, and Kathleen Gilbert. Kathleen. So Todd directs NRCM Rising, and he manages the Brookies program. And Kathleen has assisted with all the logistics. And many other NRCM staff who are here have also helped, and thank you to them as well. But I just really wanted to particularly thank them. The others who have done the heavy lifting in advance of tonight's program are the Brookie Award winners. And so thank you for the work that you've done to get you to this point. Maine has amazing environmental leaders in every age group and every part of the state. Without them, Maine would be a different place. But tonight, the spotlight really is on the next generation. 6 recipients of our 2022 Brookie Awards. Let me just start with a general observation that Maine youth are bringing incredible energy, passion and purpose to the cause of environmental protection in the state of Maine right now. And I'm seeing it at the State House, where I've seen a big increase in the number of young Mainers testifying on legislation, who are 14 and 15, and they're delivering testimony on bills dealing with climate, clean energy, protecting our woods, our wildlife, our waters, and they're totally nailing their testimony. So most people get a 3-minute limit, and I've been watching 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds hit that 3-minute mark exactly when it's done. They have rehearsed it, they have prepared their remarks, they know what they're going to say, their passion is obvious and authentic, and they're doing it in a much better way than a lot of older folks who are getting up to that microphone, I just got to say. So that's pretty exciting for those of us who work at the State House and really depend on people being involved in the process. Young Mainers also are channeling their passions for the environment through art and science, writing and organizing. We launched the Brookie Awards to recognize this next generation of environmental leaders. For this year's Brookie Awards process, we received nominations in support of individual candidates, 50 of them in 14 of Maine's 16 counties. Candidates were evaluated on their leadership, creativity, collaboration, positive impact for Maine's environment, and we selected 6 winners who we will meet shortly. Each Brookie receives a $2,000 cash prize. We hired a videographer to make an awesome video of each of them, and we'll watch those tonight. They're all very short. We provided them with a 6-week training program in public speaking and speech writing, and we'll hear the product of that training. And starting tomorrow, they will be on a 3-day trip with Ripple Effect out on Cow Island for skills training and also interacting with other environmental leaders and political leaders. Our goal is to help support these young leaders as they continue to channel their love for this place, love for our planet, toward action that makes a difference. We want them to make a splash, to cause ripples, just like the young brook trout, or Brookie, for which this award is named. So now let me just provide a few special thanks to the generous sponsors who have made the Brookies possible. All of our sponsors are listed in the program, and I'm going to read 2 lists, and then I'm going to ask for wild applause, okay? So the first list are foundations and individual supporters. The Quimby Family Foundation, the Stifler Family Foundation, the Louise H. and David S. Ingalls Foundation, Richard F. Keyser and Family, Tony and Beth G. Owens, and CWE and Linda Payne. Hold your applause. Now for our top business and nonprofit sponsors. Maine Medical Center, National Wildlife Federation, 98.9 WCLZ, LL Bean, Drummond Woodsum, Norman Hanson and Detroit, Reynolds McVeigh Capital Management, Environmental Defense Fund, and Higgins Beach Market. All right, let's give it up for those great sponsors. And finally, I just want to make a pitch for NRCM Rising, which is NRCM's program for Mainers in their 20s, 30s, and early 40s who care about Maine's environment and are interested in connecting with each other, connecting with nature, connecting with the policy issues that help protect the state of Maine. A number of the members of the NRCM Rising leadership team are here tonight, as are many others who participate in NRCM Rising. Let's give a round of applause for NRCM Rising.
Thank you, Pete. Honored to be here to be part of this inspiring program and celebrate the leadership and impact of Maine's young environmental advocates. Without further ado, let's shift our attention and our spotlight to our 6 2022 Brookie Award winners. First up, let me introduce our youngest recipient this year, Anna Siegel. Anna's 16. She attends Wayne Fleet in Portland and lives in Yarmouth. She's been a passionate birder since childhood. Anna first got involved in climate advocacy after learning about the impacts of climate on birds. Anna started Maine strikes and worked with youth advocates statewide to pass local climate emergency declarations at city councils and select boards. In 2020, she was appointed to the Maine Climate Council's Working Group on Community Resilience, Public Health, and Emergency Management. In 2021, Anna got involved in the state legislative process for the first time. She worked directly with State Representative Maggie O'Neill to introduce LD 99, and with many young climate advocates across the state to generate grassroots communications to lawmakers. The bill passed and was signed into law by the governor last spring. Anna is a passionate climate leader who used creative organization skills to motivate her peers and help pass a bill into law, which isn't easy. And now she's working to ensure that the law is implemented along with other projects. So Anna, I'm gonna invite you to the, well, first we're gonna do your video, right? Okay. So we're gonna watch Anna's video and then we're gonna invite her up to the stage. I wanna say one little special note about Anna. I've known Anna since she was in second grade? Fourth grade. So Anna and my daughter were classmates, and I do believe a few of your elementary school teachers are here tonight, right? Yeah. So it's an incredible honor to watch you receive your Brookie Award.
Being an environmental advocate and a leader means to do my best every day to work with the values of sustainability and integrity and equality. And that's why I do climate justice work. I ended up having a call with Representative O'Neill in a broom closet at my school, since it was early in my freshman year as a new kid and I did not know where the conference rooms were. Maggie, Cassie Kane of Maine Youth for Climate Justice, and I charted a course to craft legislation that would divest Maine from the $1.3 billion we have invested in fossil fuels. You know, even when we don't win or when the hours get long, is seeing other young activists doing the same thing and doing the same work and putting in that time, putting that energy, and the small wins even means so much because we're standing on the shoulders of others. Every incremental thing we do means that that's something that another young person like me doesn't have to do. My name is Anna Siegel, and I'm a youth climate justice activist, birder, and high school student from Yarmouth, Maine.
Everyone. I am honored to be here and to have received a Brookie Award. Thank you to NRCM for your dedication in supporting young environmentalists and for hosting this event. I will let you all know that my dad is just as appreciative as he loves to give me random nicknames, and Brookie is his new favorite. I would be shocked if you couldn't already tell, but in elementary and middle school, I was a geeky girl who loved the outdoors and all things nature. My parents knew to avoid me after I devoured a book about tigers or owls to avoid their ears being chopped off. But very quickly, around 6th and 7th grade, I went from a plain old bird nerd to a raging climate activist, who was also still a bird nerd. The catalyst for this shift was the amazing adult allies with 350 Maine and my middle school teacher, Lee Chisholm, who's here tonight, who encouraged me to turn my passion into action and actually do something about the problems of biodiversity loss and climate change, rather than wait until I grew up. Because for so long, I told myself that the best thing I could do to combat the climate crisis was just to keep my head down and do well in school and then become an influential scientist whose voice and research would spark seismic action, which was pretty naive considering how our society reacts to science or the lack of reaction to science. But just as I found myself thrown into a world of protests and climate strikes in 8th grade, This past year and a half, I rapidly became entrenched in the world of climate finance. LD99 was a bill that 2 legislative sessions ago mandated the state of Maine divest from fossil fuels. It is the first bill of its kind in the country that has passed successfully. It was passed because of an intergenerational effort between legislators like Representative O'Neill, adult allies with 350 Maine and Sierra Club Maine, youth activists like Cole Cochrane, Cassie Kane, Maine Youth for Climate Justice, all the pensioners who were stakeholders in the process, and many more. Divestment is not only a moral imperative, being a solution toward institutional funding of the climate crisis, but an action that must be taken to protect those pensioners, folks whose retirement funds are invested in the fossil fuel industry and as a result are losing money. So why are we still talking about this if, it was signed into law last summer? Well, the amount of money that we're going to divest may seem like a drop in the bucket, but there's a huge ripple effect. The University of Maine system pledged to divest due to the hard work of college students there, and a very similar bill to Maine's was introduced in California recently. Another one of those ripple effects is Maine Youth Action, an organization that I co-founded with Cole Cochrane and Margaret Archibald. We are a youth-led organization that works closely with the Maine Youth for Climate Justice Coalition, which I'm a core member of, and adult allies to drive bold and equitable climate policy on a state and municipal level. That's a nice, snappy-sounding pitch that I've spent a lot of time working on, but really, what's next for us? Well, for me, I believe that LD99 needs to be fully implemented as soon as possible. Maine higher education, colleges like Bates and Bowdoin still need to divest their endowments from fossil fuels. And I promise I don't just do divestment work. Maine Youth Action will continue with these items, but other efforts surrounding renewable energy, municipal climate action, and public transportation. And something that everyone here can do to shift from celebrating youth at this lovely event to practicing tangible climate action in your day-to-day lives is to vote for climate champions up and down the ballot in the general election in November. It's great that we're here celebrating young people, but adults still have the vast majority of political, financial, and societal influence today. As the climate crisis requires a mobilization from every sector, intergenerational action is crucial, which includes adults voting in November with climate justice as the top priority, or donating to climate justice organizations as an investment in our collective future. Last week, I had a picnic at one of my local Yarmouth town parks, and an oddly proportioned, though somehow elegant bird flew in and landed on the rocks below my feet. Luckily, I had expected some wading birds to be here, so I brought my camera. But this black-crowned night heron, normally a reclusive and shy species, being right in front of me was an unexpected treat. My friend, who was confused as to why I was so excited about this bird, was shyly supportive, batting away ants from our picnic while I laid out on my stomach, full army crawl style, to photograph this bird. That, standing supportive, yet standing to the side, out of the general picture frame. That's like how most folks are when it comes to climate activism. That's how most folks are when it comes to engaging with any deep, looming, systemic issue that feels too scary to comprehend. I hope everyone here sees that there is space in the picture for you. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in their dire reports may say that the time to act was yesterday, but there is always time to engage further and shape the world you want to live in. Thank you.
Woo! All right, we gonna make it through that? Whoop, turn this back on. Thank you so much, Anna. Our next 2022 Brookie Award winner is Kiara Frischkorn. Kiara is 22 years old. I believe Kiara had a birthday yesterday.
Yeah.
She recently graduated from the University of New England and is living in Biddeford. Kiara grew up in Los Angeles and has experienced the impacts of climate change firsthand. She and her family have had to flee their home in LA because of the threats of wildfires. Her family's native country of the Philippines has been ravaged by climate-fueled typhoons in the recent years. These disasters motivated Kiara to become a climate advocate. As a marine studies major at UNE and president of the campus sustainability team, Kiara's channeled her energies towards reducing plastic waste in our oceans. She's organized several successful beach cleanups during her 4 years on campus. And as a member of student government, Kiara often met with the dean of students regarding sustainability initiatives on campus. She is also empowering other youth in Maine to use their voices and tell their personal stories by speaking at climate rallies and trainings. Let's watch Kiara's video.
Growing up in LA, I thought a lot of experiences that I have was just normal. I have never had a snow day growing up in LA. I have had low quality air days where I just don't want to leave the house because it makes me feel sick. So then just coming to Maine and just breathing in this air right now, there are multiple times a week where I just stand outside and I just breathe. My first week at UNE, I went to the director of marine biology at the school and I said, hey, we need to organize a beach cleanup because the beach is filthy. In 2 weeks, we organized that and we got 50 people on the beach and we got the mayor to come. Since we started organizing these beach cleanups in 2019, we have collected over 1,000 pounds of trash. We've done this on Freddy Beach, Camp Ellis, Old Orchard Beach, and we hope to continue to do so. Students can make a change. It doesn't have to be the adults. Go out there, speak what you're gonna say, and get it done. Hi, my name is Kiara Frischkorn. I'm an environmental advocate from LA studying marine affairs and climate change at the University of New England.
Hello everybody, once again. I would just like to give a huge thank you to Maine Youth for Climate Justice for one, welcoming me to Maine, but also helping me share my voice. I want to give a huge thank you to my wonderful club, Earthseaco at UNE, and the amazing faculty and staff that have helped me guide my journey into environmental activism. Two of them are here tonight, Susan Faraday and Alethea Caridi. Thank you so much, and I couldn't have done this without you. I'm already getting a little emotional, so I'm going to share some fun facts about myself. As of yesterday, I just turned 22. Super cool. I'm a recent UNE graduate. I used to intern for Governor Janet Mills, and yet Spirit Halloween still won't hire me. Pretty messed up. I love thrifting, and I'm also a friend to 2 separate gangs. More on that later. It's very interesting. But I've also had my fair share of experiences with extraordinary natural disasters. So honestly, let's count them out, see? I've got typhoons under my belt, I've been in multiple earthquakes, I've been in wildfires, and now moving to New England, I've been in that classic New England nor'easter. So I feel like I'm practically collecting them all at this point. And part of my decision of moving to Maine stemmed from my need to move somewhere I deemed normal, somewhere perfect and far away from all of these traumatic and scary natural disasters. I had grown up thinking that the experiences that I had were normal, but coming to Maine, I realized they were not in fact normal at all. They were extremely messed up, and a lot of it was fueled by the climate crisis we are currently in. When I got to Maine for the first time, moving into UNE, I felt a state of shock, because the way that we're living here in our state of normalcy is completely different from what I have viewed and what I have witnessed in the rest of the world. So in a very weird way, congratulations to Maine for being so absolutely lovely that it made me realize that California is metaphorically and literally hell. Yeah. In California, we have always learned the dangers of wildfires and what they mean. They mean displacement. And I have spent almost my entire childhood living in LA. And I've observed that as I grew in age, as I've learned more about the environment, these wildfires grew up in size. In November of 2018, a series of wildfires broke out throughout California. I was sitting in math class, my senior year, just hoping to get out, seeing the news, massive wildfires, and I honestly just thought to myself, okay, what's new? You know? Like, I've seen it here before everywhere. What is different? We had grown accustomed to the idea of this large-scale inferno being a couple miles away from us, that it's just normal. But I would soon come to learn that the 2018 wildfire season in California would become the most deadly and destructive in the state's history. The Paradise fires burned the entire town of Paradise down, and I remember that the Woodsley fires ripped through Malibu, burning down parts of the city. I remember seeing people fleeing from their homes that were on fire to be met with a highway on fire. And I felt that feeling in your stomach of hopelessness, of where do you go from here? On that day, my family got the siren to prepare to evacuate. And we learned what that meant in elementary school. When you hear that siren, it means you pack a go bag. You pack as much as you can in that go bag that's meaningful to you, and you put it by your door. And the second you hear the next siren, you leave, you run out of your home, and you don't turn back until it's safe. I implore you all, when you go home tonight, to stand in your room and ask yourself, what's worth protecting from a wildfire? What is worth saving from your home? What is worth putting in a duffel bag? Where do you go when home isn't safe anymore? These are insanely difficult and heavy questions to ask yourself, but for LA, for the people who live there, this is the fire winter season. This is normal. On the other side of the world, my family in the Philippines is suffering from a very complete different problem from the wildfires. We've traded in these massive infernos for rising tides and typhoons. I was with my family when Typhoon Ursula hit the island of Boracay in 2019. I would like to note that the island of Boracay is extremely small, but they are doing their part to offset their carbon. They have been trying to have a complete electric grid, stemming away from gasoline and diesel, and they're actively doing their part to become a leader in Asia for environmental activism. But on Christmas Day, December 2019, we were hit by a Category 3 typhoon. I remember being woken up that morning to see wind knock over concrete apartments, brick and metal sheet ripped apart in a matter of seconds. And at this time, there was no go bag. There was no time to pack everything and find somewhere safe. It happened in a few matter of seconds. There was no opportunity to determine what was worth saving. With no internet or power or service for 3 days, all people could do was just pick up debris. And after that, the power came back on. The airlines resumed flights, communities rebuilt, and life went on. But for me, I was in a really heavy state of shock because I have never witnessed a typhoon this powerful rip through an island community in only a matter of minutes. But for my family in the Philippines, they didn't know why I was so upset, because this happened yearly, this happened monthly. Every single week there's a new typhoon coming into a different region of the country, and they just have to deal with it. It was the norm for them. But these should not be normal experiences. Not in California, not in the Philippines, not in Maine, not anywhere. And it's so unbelievably frustrating to know that right now in California there are children who no longer have snow days, but in fact they have low quality air days when they can't go to school because it gives them nosebleeds and it hurts their throat. My need to move somewhere safe to Maine stemmed from not wanting to be a part of these mass climate emergencies. And this is a growing reason for migration all over the world now. The normal that we are so blessed to experience right now is fleeting if we don't make effective and wide-scale change now. While we're blessed to not have to deal with the wildfires of California or the typhoons in the Philippines, we're dealing with disappearing shorelines, erosion, rising tides, droughts, and wildfires. And there are things that we can do about that. I'm a firm believer that no change is too small to make a difference. that all large-scale movements started from just one person who had that spark and they wanted to make a difference and they knew how they wanted to inspire people. For me, that was organizing beach cleanups. And if I'm gonna be honest with you, I never really expected myself to find joy in picking up other people's garbage, but it's really fun. It really is. And the best thing about it, besides seeing the change that you make after a day, is how easy it is. All you need is a group of people, a beach, and a whole lot of trash. Through the efforts of Earthseaco, Susan Faraday, Charles Tilburg, and Alethea Caridi, my club and I have been able to organize some of the biggest beach cleanups in the state of Maine. Not only is this a feat for the environment, but this is a huge win for public safety, because I can't tell you how many needles and knives I've picked up. Very scary stuff. But it's change that's happening on a daily basis, and it's so easy to do. Well, remember those gangs I told you about? Well, with the help of my family in the Philippines, we managed to organize the first cleanup in Jimenez. And to my utter surprise, from 6 in the morning to 10, we had over 500 people show up to pick up trash. We had entire churches and schools, local businesses, and to my absolute surprise, 2 rival gangs came together on that day, which, I remember seeing them shake hands on the local news, and I still remember the words that they said. And it really sticks with me to this day. They said, even if we can't leave anything for our children, at least we can leave them with a clean beach to play on. These are people who you would least expect to be working in community efforts. These are people at the brink of society who decided one day to set aside their rivalry and make change. It was something as simple as a beach cleanup, and they rose to the challenge. I look forward to continuing my activism, and I hope to join the Biddeford Climate Task Force. I hope to one day work with the state government to work on advocating for plastic pollution and climate policies and regulations. And in the meantime, I'm looking forward to organizing more and more beach cleanups to keep this beautiful state beautiful. You're going to hear a lot of stories tonight in all kinds of ways from all walks of life of youth activists who are trying to make a difference in this world, on ways that they've been getting involved, but also how you can get involved as well. From working on bills and legislation with Kosi and Anna, to working to advocate for renewable energy and clean water like Noella and Lucas, to even be doing the awesome thing of protecting our local amphibians like Greg. Anyone can find that spark in their lives, the urge to make a difference and to inspire other people. If Filipino gang leaders can spend a day picking up the beach, then clearly anybody can. So I implore you and I urge you to listen tonight with open ears and open hearts to find new ways to continue your advocacy on this planet. Thank you.
So, thank you, Kiara. I'm going to channel your gang story when the legislature starts back up, and I'm trying to get bipartisan support with 2 rival gangs. Next up, I want to introduce Lucas Healey. Lucas Healey's 22. He recently graduated from the Maine Maritime Academy in Castine, and even more recently began his career in the offshore wind industry. During his 4 years at Maine Maritime, Lucas played a major role in building the campus sustainability club and expanding environmental consciousness on campus. As president of the campus environmental club, Lucas organized community cleanups and helped establish a bottle recycling program. Lucas took on an internship focused on offshore wind for no academic credits, on top of his other academic responsibilities, to set himself up for a career in the wind industry. At the conclusion of his internship, he worked with professors and the dean of students to advocate for new renewable energy courses to be offered on campus. For his senior capstone, Lucas built an operational wind turbine and testing facility on campus, which will be utilized for curriculum for many years to come. Let's watch Lucas's video.
Growing up sailing and being outdoors has really brought me to love the environment that I'm around. Sailing is so much within the elements and respecting the elements and becoming one with the elements. This semester we've been building a wind turbine for future students to use in their labs and in their studies to get into the renewable energy industry. The lab will be able to teach students to calculate efficiencies of a wind turbine. Our school has famously not been towards the renewables. We're going out to sea, we're using fossil fuels, we're using diesel engines, gas turbines. Knowing that I wanted to look more into renewables, I wanted to find a way that we could incorporate that into our classes. At Maine Maritime, I want to be remembered by one of the people that started the renewables programs. Be a leader and an advocate for Maine's environment means you have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. Even if it's not a whole lot, but just something that can make a change to either your specific community or to something greater than that. I'm Lucas Healey, and I'm an advocate for renewable energy here in Castine, Maine.
Hello. So, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out here, especially like my family driving all the way from Ohio, and all these friends here, and professors, and all these wonderful people that help support us and with NRCM. So, thank you. And here's a little story about me. So, from the time I was born, I was on the waters of the Great Lake Erie. Bit by the sailing bug on my grandfather's sailboat is where I gained my love for the wind and the waves. As a small child, I was doing everything from racing little sailboats and going on week-long adventures on wooden ships. And it wasn't long before I was asking my grandfather about questions, and it wasn't enough for me, and I needed to learn more. So soon I was off to explore on my own. So my dad is an entrepreneur. His practical imagination helps connect the dots between problems and existing solutions. For example, right now he's working with a team developing a shipping size container for a plastic recycling facility that will separate the plastic and then eventually sell them back to the major bottling companies to be reused. I found my own practical imagination in high school after creating my own varsity sailing team for the school. And I found that it wasn't just the sailing that I loved so much, but creating something and inspiring people to do something more. And I just wanted that feeling for everyone. So after that, I made it to Maine Maritime Academy. And it was a very structured school, and there wasn't a lot of room for my practical imagination to grow. So I thought my days of creating things were over. But then I met one of my best friends, and he showed me all the beautiful parts of Maine. He brought me hiking and camping, and taught me how to ski, and he really showed me what Maine's natural beauty was all about, and also just why it needs to be protected. And then he said that with just 7 people, or in 6 with this case, that you can start a movement. So the next thing you know, I was learning about environmental sustainability in my classes, and how we use energy and how we can improve. And my practical imagination took hold again, and I began to push the campus for renewable energy. My friends and I know that Maine Maritime is a hands-on school, and that to have renewable energy education, there has to be a physical model that the students can escape the textbooks and get their hands on something, and that's kind of where my wind turbine came to life. So our whole society is based around the use of energy. Like your phone, your computer, refrigerator, and the spotlights shining over our heads all use electricity. And so currently fossil fuels is our main source to produce that electricity. But I don't think fossil fuels are going to go away anytime soon, but I know that there's things that we can do along the way. And my best option for that would be offshore wind. The wind blows way stronger off the coast of Maine And I think we need to be able to take advantage of that with wind turbines. So the University of Maine is developing floating wind turbines that are nearly 1,000 feet tall, and each one can power at least 13,000 homes. The Biden administration's goal of 30 gigawatts by 2030 will provide enough electricity to power about 15 million homes, and that is far more than all the homes in all of New England. So wind energy has been around since 1887. By no means is it a new technology, but that's probably why I like it. It kind of appeals to my practical imagination. So wind energy is an existing solution to our common problem of climate change. These turbines can last at least 25 years, and they have the ability to upgrade to more efficient blades and produce even more electricity for the future. But for this lofty goal of like 30 gigawatts by 2030, we need a fleet of ships that work around the clock. And I just finished my first month at sea working in the Gulf of Mexico on vessels that will be transitioning to wind installations. But currently there are no wind installation vessels that were purpose-built for in the United States. But they are being built now, and they are on their way. And I would love to get on one. And of course, as we work to make our institutions better, there are things that we as individuals can do too. For example, beneficial electrification. So that's transitioning our gas appliances to electric appliances. So from our stoves, our heat pumps, water heaters, and anything else in between. But an induction stovetop uses about half the electricity than a normal gas stove or a gas stove wouldn't use electricity, but it would use about half as much as like a normal electric stove, and its efficiency is about 76%, which is a lot more efficient than a gas stove, which is at about 30% efficiency. And it can boil water about half the time as the other option, so, I mean, obvious option, right? Yeah, so with the electrical grid, with our electrical grid powered by renewable energy, we can dramatically reduce our footprint on the environment. The solutions to our problems aren't out of reach, they just take a little bit of practical imagination. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. I'm really excited to see what you do with your practical imagination. Okay, so our next, is that everybody? We move on to 2020. So we're going to recognize the 2020 Brookie Award winners in the audience who did not have their own awards ceremony. So at this time, we'd like to recognize the 6 recipients of the Brookie Awards in 2020. And due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you guys heard of that? The 2020 award ceremony was hosted virtually on Zoom. To ensure they get the recognition they deserve, we invited them to join us this evening and receive our appreciation. If you're in the audience, please stand as I call your name. So I believe 4 of you are here. Jordan Parks. So I'm gonna admire your work, Jordan, while I share a message about you. Jordan is a sustainable materials artist from South Portland, and the piece on the back wall is her work, their work. Jordan uses art to cultivate connections between people and places, particularly Maine's coast. Jordan's work shows how the climate movement is connecting people to the outdoors through art to deepen their connection with the natural world. This August, Jordan will serve as the artist in residence with the Allagash Wilderness Waterway. Let's give a round of applause to Jordan. Riley Stevenson. Riley is a climate organizer and activist from Waldoboro. As the former outreach director of the Maine Youth Climate Strikes and founder of the Coastal Youth Climate Coalition, Riley worked with youth activists statewide to organize climate strikes and advocate for legislative action to address climate change. Thank you, Riley. On your right. Anya is a climate organizer and activist from Bar Harbor who now works for the Sierra Club as a grassroots climate action organizer. Anya serves as the youth representative to the Maine Climate Council. She helped found Maine Youth for Climate Justice and co-authored a climate justice syllabus for schools across the country. Thank you. And Surhi Kumar. Surhi is a climate advocate on Mount Desert Island. Surhi is a co-founder of the Mount Desert Island Climate Emergency Action Coalition. She is the youth representative to the Bar Harbor Task Force on Climate and has served as president of the Mount Desert Island High School Eco Team. Earlier this year, Surhi was awarded a U.S. Presidential Scholar and one of only 2 Maine high school students. And Gabby Hillier. So Gabby can't be here tonight. Gabby's a marine scientist in Orono with the University of Maine. Gabby is the co-developer and project coordinator of the Maine Shellfish Learning Network. The network brings together stakeholders in the shellfish industry and encourages collaboration and communication between scientists, state agencies, and coastal communities. And Logan Parker, who also couldn't join us this evening. Logan is a passionate birder. Are you guys friends? Yeah. Logan's from Palermo. Logan is the founder of the Maine Nightjar Monitoring Project, a citizen science initiative aimed at collecting data on eastern whippoorwill and the common nighthawk, 2 species that face major threats throughout their breeding ranges. Congratulations to the 2022 Brookie Award recipients. And I'd like to invite you up to the stage to take a bow. Come on up, come on. Come on, Jordan.
I was worried about getting up here and I'm going to try and speak.
All right, one more round of applause for these. Thank you all so much. And next up, we're going to have a musical interlude with the Halcyon String Quartet. So let me just give you a little... So we're going to have a musical interlude, then we're going to hear from our final 3 folks. So let me just tell you a little bit about our quartet. They're from Mid-Coast, Maine, and they use music and the arts to promote environmental stewardship and climate action. Halcyon believes that music and art inspire us to notice, observe, and actively participate in our communities while acknowledging and protecting the natural environment that sustains us. Let me introduce Halcyon's artistic director, Sophie Davis, to share a bit about what you're about to hear as this quartet sets up on stage. Welcome.
Thank you all so much. Wow, I just can't, I'm so inspired by everyone in this room right now. So we're very honored to be here tonight. We would like to share 2 short vignettes with you this evening that explore the vitality and vulnerability of Maine's coastal and aquatic ecosystems in the face of climate change. So like most of our programs, what you're about to see includes music and film. And this program was created in partnership with video artist Luke Fatora, who's also a violinist. And he captured and designed the film that you're about to see. As you have heard tonight, this world is changing, but its beauty, its strength, and its resilience remain. We are honored to be here tonight and are incredibly inspired by the leadership, creativity, and determination in this room. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. I feel like we need one more round of applause for that. So, next up, it's time to hear from our 3 final Brookie Award winners of the evening. You heard from her a bit already this evening, but now I'd like to introduce Noella Altvader. Thank you. And her tireless effort to bring clean water to her reservation. Noella grew up on the Passamaquoddy Reservation at the Zibayek. For decades, the community has suffered from polluted drinking water. Instead of ignoring the problem, as many have done over the years, Noella utilized the Passamaquoddy tradition of storytelling and modern technology in the form of a story map to amplify the voices of her community and advocate for change. Noella creatively wove pictures, videos, scientific research, social statistics, and personal stories into a compelling virtual story map. The story map highlights the daily struggle for clean water in her community and helped to build support for legislative action earlier this year to secure a new source of clean drinking water. Let's watch Noella's video.
Have to have it. Have to have it. So growing up Native American, you learn that water's sacred. So water is life. It's not just a means for survival. It's not just in our bodies. It's who we are. Zibayek has toxic water. And so I created a story map on that to be able to show people and push the problem and hopefully fix and find a solution long term. Over the past 3 years, I have done numerous projects, numerous interviews, presentations to be able to really put it out there that there is an issue and it's not going away. I am in college for liberal studies. I will graduate next year. It's a 2-year community college. Once I graduate and continue on a 4-year degree for anything that has to do with environmental sustainability problems. I really think that that is perfect for me because for the past 3 years, I feel like I've found my calling. I've found my purpose. My name is Noella Altvader. I am from Pleasant Point, Zibayek, and I am an advocate for our clean water. When I was growing up, life was fun for the most part. All throughout my childhood, I played outside. During the summer months, we spent our time swimming in the pool, playing tag, wiffle ball, and playing on the playground. So one day, my sister and I were playing in the pool, and there was this little old lady that was way too short to see over the steering wheel. And she was told to stop driving, but she did not listen. So one day, she was driving along, and she went off the road near my house. And I was like, you know, she's just gonna get right back on the road. No, she took out my mailbox. So I ran inside, got my mom. My mom ran next door, got the chief of police that happened to be our neighbor, and who I called Uncle. So he came over, drove her home. She was right back out on the road the next day, so there was no point in even trying. That was about normal for her. You saw her kind of out and about doing those kind of things just about every day. Sounds like a normal childhood experience, right? Well, the small little details are kind of what messes with you. The pool didn't have clean water. It was gross. It was a brownish green color. It smelled. When you came inside to clean off, you didn't go into the shower. You went under the sink and grabbed the jugs of water that you had and then poured that over yourself to get all the nastiness off. That was normal for me. Growing up in Zibayek, the quality of water just wasn't drinkable. The level of triethylomethanes in the water was at 122 parts per billion, whereas the drinkable level is 80 parts per billion. In order to get clean water, to the reservation, you either fill it up yourself at a well in Robbinston, or you have it delivered through a water program that the tribe offers, or you purchase it yourself. That's really the only way to get clean water. So roughly 90% of the people on our reservation drink out of the tap due to not having the money, not having the accessibility, or simply not really knowing that there's an issue. So growing up, you don't really think about water, right? You don't think, well, is it good for me? Should I drink this? Should I not drink it? The water on the reservation was a different story. It caused skin reactions, and there was also a flyer sent out that showed the toxicity that led to major health risks, such as cancer, organ failure, kidney failure, and it was making people sick like the flu. It was making them ill. When I turned 16, I started working with my grandmother as her assistant. She told me about an internship through Wabanaki Youth in Science to create a story map on environmental issues. A story map is like a slideshow. You use data, you use interviews, facts, videos, any information you would like, and you put it together to tell a story. So I decided to create one on the toxic water. I did interviews, I collected data, I spoke to people in the community, and I worked with programs to try to find someone to help. In December of 2021, I presented my finished story map for the first time. We sent out a mass Zoom link and went from there. Anyone that was interested in watching was able to join. We had people from all different states and all different organizations. I presented at a summit in August in 2022, and then at the State House in Augusta to help pass the bill LD 906. I'm currently still working the internship through Wabanaki Youth in Science and doing sustainability projects within my community. I plan to work on our community garden and try and get our youth council to continue to use their voice as well as be an asset for my community. I graduate next year, and then I'll go on to continue working for my community. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight to hear me share my story. Thank you to the NCRM and the Brookie Awards. Thank you to my sister Sienna, who helped me mentor to create the story. And thank you to everyone for believing in me and being able to share my story and make change for my community.
Thank you, Noella. Let me introduce our next awardee, Greg Leclaire. Greg is a PhD student at the University of Maine and is the founder and lead organizer of Maine Big Night, a citizen science project focused on collecting data on amphibians in Maine as they cross roadways to reach their habitat. Greg recruits and trains volunteers of all ages to assist amphibians across roadways during the spring migration and collect data on what they find. This past spring, Greg mobilized more than 400 volunteers who recorded data on more than 8,500 amphibians statewide. The Maine Big Night project is helping to identify road mortality hotspots in Maine and to prioritize infrastructure solutions. Greg is putting his passion for science and conservation into practice by mobilizing Mainers to protect Maine wildlife. Let's watch Greg's video.
I've been connected to Maine's environment since I was in kindergarten. I grew up playing in a stream and have followed that passion to now where I'm getting my PhD studying some of our rarest species in Maine. Well, amphibians do a lot for us, from anything from telling us if the environment is healthy to sequestering carbon. These amphibians are migrating because they need to get to their locations to breed. So what we're doing is just assisting them cross the road and then also collecting data on those road crossings so that we know where these highly important sites are to protect in the future. Nature is so inherent, it bleeds into everything, and I'm a father. I have this 2-year-old that I'm nurturing, and in many ways I see parallels between my daughter and nature. A lot of people, we're looking at nature as Mother Nature, this thing that cares for us, but we're at a point where we need to be thinking of it not only as Mother Nature, but also as Daughter Nature. It needs our nurturing, it needs our help, so how are we going to help it grow? I'm Greg Leclaire, and I'm a wildlife scientist and student from Waterville, Maine.
Wow. Well, thank you, everyone. And before I dive into my speech, I just have so many people I want to thank. NRCM, especially Todd. Where's Todd? There, everybody. Thank you, Todd. Also, Samuel James, Adam Burke, and the Maine Studios for hosting this, too. It's amazing. My parents and my brothers and my good friend Ryan for supporting all of my weird adventures with wildlife since I was a kid, so thank you to them as well. As well as my academic family, especially my advisors, Dr. Matthew Chatfield, as well as Drs. Jeff Parmalee, Cheryl Frederick, and Marcia Moreno-Baez. All of you have contributed to my work and my drive to get here, so thank you to all those people. And finally, my final thank you here, sorry everybody, to the Maine Big Night community. Without you, I wouldn't be here today, and I know I have a few Maine Big Night volunteers in the audience, so just curious, who here's volunteered for Maine Big Night? Are there any that I've missed? Eric? All right, we got a few more that I haven't had a chance to talk to so far, so thank you to all those who have participated. Okay, I started my forays into wildlife biology at the ripe age of 7. It was a rainy evening in April when I first saw it, Embystoma maculatum, my first spotted salamander. You can imagine how exciting this was for a 7-year-old to encounter such a creature. This was a large, lumbering, black and yellow amphibian that is extremely difficult to find any other time of year because usually she's deep underground foraging on insects and following burrows through the subterranean. However, here she was in my driveway showing me for the first time an ancient tradition that's been occurring for millennia. This was her annual breeding migration. So you can bet that the next time a warm rainy night happened, this bowl-cut 7-year-old kid was out looking. And sure enough, next time I went out, guess what I saw? Spotted salamanders, right. So boom, spotted salamanders, that neural pathway was established. I go out in the pouring rain at night and I get rewarded with cool creatures, awesome. And in fact, it wasn't just the spotted salamanders I was seeing, but also species like the wood frogs, which are like the Clark Kents of the amphibian world. They freeze solid every winter to emerge clucking like chickens in our wetlands, as well as so many other beautiful species that I wish I could talk your ears off about right now. But it didn't take long of following these animals to realize that they faced a massive problem. Nearly all of my newfound friends were getting killed within hours of meeting them, and the killer was my childhood road, Maxwell Road here in Litchfield, Maine. I once watched as an army of spotties marched across the road in a line, as if they had coordinated an attack on the opposite side of the road. If I didn't move them, these salamanders, some of them perhaps older than I am even today, would have been otherwise unavailable to avoid this single oncoming car that was unaware that this night was a night for salamanders. And so then, for every spring, I have walked the roads at night in a reflective vest and headlamp, searching for these creatures to help them cross when I can. So all what brings me here today is my work with these species that continues to date through my project Maine Big Nights. I want to take this time to share a few important messages with you. And I'm going to be a bit awkward with you all right now and tell you that life lately has actually been not that grand. I recently ended a long-term relationship and am now navigating the process of looking out not only for myself, but also my daughter. Between this experience, more therapy than I'd care to admit, and my life's duty of working with creatures designated otherwise less than worthy of love, I feel I have lessons that I want to share with you. And the first one being, we are all worthy. We all have potential. Since I was 7, I've had the idea for the project that brings me here today, but I sat on it because I was afraid of judgment. This is a project that has now grown to hundreds of volunteers, plus their families, has been profiled in nearly all the major national and Maine news outlets, has been highlighted in a children's book, and has contributed to peer-reviewed scientific research to improve our understanding of how wildlife interacts with traffic. All of this from an idea that I had when I was 7. And plus, all of this while now saving tens of thousands of these animals as of this year. We saved 8,500 this past year. I can guarantee you have all been sitting on something at some point in your life, something that can help make life better for you, or your community, or the world. Second, view the world without judgment. I know it's hard to look at someone at the end of your driveway in a bright reflective vest at 10 p.m. on a rainy April evening and not question what the actual hell is going on out there. But get curious. Go ask them what they're doing. I know it's also hard in a similar aspect for many of us to see something like a spider or a snake and not want it gone. But next time you see one, I want you to see it with new eyes. Recognize your judgment and put your judgments aside for 5 seconds, just long enough to realize that the conscious feeling and thinking and important lives that these animals have. It is precisely because of fear that Maine no longer has the timber rattlesnake, and that same species, literally the symbol of our young nation, is struggling to maintain footing in the Northeast because irrational fear has shut down its chances of being protected and bolstered. And if you want a silly story, look up Massachusetts Quabbin Reservoir timber rattlesnake protection. It's pretty out there. It did not happen, if you could take a wild guess. To some degree, we are all misunderstood, and we are all misunderstanding. Be aware of how both of these are affecting your lives, not only with how you see nature, but how you see each other. Third and final message. I want you all to focus on becoming. This has been one of my guiding stars for the past few years. What are your actions, even the most minute ones, leading you to become? If you keep doing what you're doing, are you achieving the idealized version of yourself? Are you becoming someone who is living their life completely and nurturing something greater? Now that I have entered the adventure of fatherhood, I am watching my non-bowl cut daughter go through the same leaps that I discovered those years ago. Before she was even 3 years old, she was asking me to go find the salamanders and fwaggies when we were driving on rainy nights. This is my gift to her. This is the world I nurture. What are you becoming? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Greg. And I'd like to introduce our final award recipient of the evening, Kosi Ifichi. Kosi is a recent graduate of Bangor High School and co-chair of the Nature-Based Education Consortium's Climate Education Policy Advocacy Working Group. Kosi and others identified that Maine's public school systems students are not receiving the education they will need about the causes, impacts, and solutions to climate change. Kosi led an effort to ensure climate education was included in the Maine Climate Council's top recommendations. Going a step further, Kosi organized a climate education summit to bring students, teachers, and allies together to develop solutions. The summit helped lead to proposed legislation for a major new investment in climate education in Maine. Kosi played a key role in getting the bill introduced, ensuring strong support at the public hearing, and securing bipartisan votes in the House and Senate. The bill received strong support in the legislature and was funded at $2 million and signed into law by Governor Mills earlier this year.
Right now, one of my biggest projects is working on getting past legislative document 1902 to provide a statewide grant program to promote climate education in public schools.
Climate education is already a part of the next generation science standards, and this bill is only a way to help students meet those standards.
I never really had much climate education at all. I remember talking about climate change maybe once my sophomore year, and that was kind of it. When I moved up to Maine when I was about 8 years old, that's when I was constantly surrounded by nature. Just being the inquisitive young person that I am, just really wanting to learn and to know about everything. That's how my passion for the environment really started. Yes, I am doing this work for everyone as a whole, everyone to be benefited from, but especially young people of color, specifically Black people in the state of Maine and beyond. Hi, my name is Kosi Fiji, and I am a student and an advocate for climate education from Bangor, Maine.
Well, hello everyone. So first, I think a few thank yous are in order. I want to thank the Natural Resource Council of Maine for putting on this event, and also my fellow winners for all the amazing work that they do throughout the state. And a special thank you and shout out to my family right there, especially my grandfather, the loud ones, sharing me really loudly. Yeah, he's definitely soaking in my limelight. Yeah, and my older sister, who honestly is my partner in crime through everything that I do, so I just, a special shout out to her. Love you so much. But tonight, I'm going to talk about my two epic loves. My first love is for the environment. I adore her hermeticism and duality. Nature seems like an idyllic picture of quiet, but when you look closer, everywhere is filled with noise. I love hearing the hum of insects, the singing of birds, and the roaring of the ocean. The environment is also highly forgiving. For within reason, she's able to bring herself back to equilibrium after being thrown off kilter with such grace and ease. As we've all gathered here tonight, I believe that I'm in good company with my love for the environment and nature. And in all honesty, the thing that I love the most about the environment is the community centered around her. Folks like us not only come together to behold her majesty, but also but also have a calling to help her get back to equilibrium once she's thrown off kilter. Even though I love the environment, it's taken me a long way to reach this point. I was born into a Nigerian immigrant household in Hinesville, Maryland, just a metro stop ride away from Washington, D.C. I didn't grow up with a love for the environment. My family was too busy navigating the landscape of this new country to put me in things like swimming lessons. My parents often spent weekends making ends meet instead of taking me to explore the great outdoors. When I moved to Maine when I was about 7 years old, I was welcomed to the state with the scent of pine trees and the song of chickadees. From a young age, and even to this day, I've always felt a need to learn about the world around me. And when I first moved to the state, it felt like completely foreign land. I felt the need to learn about the flora and fauna that surrounded me, and that started my love affair with the environment. Even though this was the case, I never felt welcome in outdoor spaces. Because I didn't know how to swim, and I couldn't afford snow gear, I always felt excluded from the thing that I loved. Instead, I stayed indoors and read my books on plants and watched nature documentaries. But I didn't just spend my time consuming nature media. I consumed media intended for children as well, and my love affair with the environment grew in tandem with my second love, Harry Potter. To say that I'm a fan of Harry Potter would be an understatement. I adore this literary series. I adore the fantastic worlds filled with mythical creatures and magical schools. I adore the stories of a young person navigating through adolescence and having to overcome the people and systems that don't want to see him succeed. I adore the lessons that the series has taught me. Everyone has the power to change the world around them, and that power comes from within. But just like in environmental spaces, I never felt represented in the things that I love. The protagonists of these stories were monolithic, and the few Black characters were extremely static and had no character development. I desperately wanted to see myself represented in a piece of media I loved. So I took matters into my own hands. That is when I became a fan fiction writer. Yeah. I mean, I'm up here receiving an award, so I have to humble myself somehow. But as a fan fiction writer, I have the power to mold the narrative of the story in a way that I wanted to. Many of the fan fictions that I wrote starred a young black student trying to figure out their way through this magical world. I imagined myself as a student at the mythical school of Hogwarts, and I felt empowered by the words that I placed on the page. My journey as a Harry Potter fan fiction writer taught me that I have the power to change the narrative that keeps people of color like me out of spaces that we love. This is a lesson that I've held with me throughout my work in the environment. Everyone deserves a relationship with the earth, no matter the identities that they hold. The reason I do this work is to break the monolithic narrative of the people that are supposed to be in the environment. I hope my work positively impacts all students in the Maine public education system and beyond. Still, most importantly, I hope my work positively impacts the young black daughter of immigrants who has an interest of the environment, but who have never had access to a beauty otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Kosi. I really admire your fire. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite all of the 2022 award winners to the stage to take a bow. What an inspiring group of young environmental leaders. We are so fortunate here in Maine and in our country, in our world, to have young environmental leaders leading from Maine, as well as environmental leaders of all ages in this room. Thank you for your hard work protecting the nature of Maine. It's been such a pleasure hearing from each of you this evening. Let's keep up the good work and know that it is appreciated, needed, and most of all, inspiring. At this time, I'd like to close the ceremony by expressing my thanks once again to NRCM and NRCM Rising for hosting the Brookie Awards program. Oh, I'm so teary. You know, on Zoom, when you get emotional, you can turn the screen off for a minute. I've just been like sniffling over here. Thanks again to our generous sponsors who made this program possible. And finally, thanks to all of you in the audience this evening for joining us. And I know that many of you are family and friends and mentors to our Brookie Award winners here and those from 2020 as well. And you've supported them in their initiatives. So let's please give yourselves and our award winners another round of applause. By adding a few extra words that were in my binder. I want to thank Pete Ditteshein and Sarah Nichols, who she's not here. She's not with us tonight, but you guys showed up all the time in the legislature, and you put wind in the sails so that we could keep doing good work and moving Maine's climate action plan forward. I'm grateful for your support day and day and day. And I want to thank all of you for supporting NRCM, because without you, we wouldn't have advocates at the State House fighting for the planet and for people. So this group right here, this is a perfect example of environmental justice, and this is what is the future of Maine. So don't forget to vote, keep donating generously to NRCM, and have a great evening. Thank you.